halo plastic. Ever since Innova came out with this stuff, it seems to be everywhere. And not long after, Trilogy hopped on the bandwagon and came out with their Orbit plastic. And after that, Discmania came suit with Horizon. And recently they switched it up and came out with this Raptor Eye plastic. But what makes this plastic so special and why do people just rave about it? Well, first thing, it's not just because of the looks. Because people like me, we love the new Halo stuff or any limited edition runs of that sort. And when I say people like me, I'm mainly talking about like mold minimalists and people who like to cycle their discs. Cause yeah, getting a bear that looks sick, like these Lucid Ice Bears, look cool in your bag. But generally like these bears and like the Orbit style of plastic flies different than the stock version. And generally they fly more overstable. So for those who like to minimize their molds and have different flights out of their discs, then something like a Halo or Orbit version of that disc would fit amazing in their already set up lineup. Like take this Lucid Ice Trespass for example. On this hole we have like a slight 5 mph breeze, let's say, and you definitely don't want to go right. Most stock Trespasses you can't really trust into this breeze to not turn over. This Lucid Ice Orbit though is actually stable enough to where you can actually trust it on a hole like this. So the people who love the feel of Trespasses and don't have that trustworthy one that will still go give them pretty good distance, but they can trust not to completely turn over in the wind, Lucid Ice Orbit would be a great one. A Lucid X one or the Lucid X Moonshine Trespasses, also great. Or let's say this Lucid Ice Orbit Enforcer. Now most Enforcers are beefy, but when you're in the Midwest and Kansas, there comes like 35, 45 mph winds, and some of those Enforcers fly pretty straight. So you want to get one that's even more beefy, Lucid Ice Orbit. It's beefy. And honestly, that's why I loved using Halo Wraiths when I threw Wraiths, because most stock Wraiths are either like really flippy, you can find like straight to stable ones, but the Halo Wraiths were always consistently the most overstable Wraith that you can find. And because of that, like I was able to have and cycle just 5 Wraiths, and that was my only distance driver I had. And now throwing Graces, you can find pretty stable stock Graces. Like I have this gray one, and this is pretty stable for a stock Grace, but these Kristen Tatar Orbit ones, which we got a restock of these at ApolloDiscGolf.com. We got a lot of these Orbit stuff at ApolloDiscGolf.com if you want to check them out. But these are the most overstable Graces. Now, granted, they're not as overstable as those Halo Wraiths, but this makes a great pairing for those who already throw Graces or those who are wanting a more overstable Grace to be able to fight the winds or like fit that in your bag. Now, I don't think it's the like actual Halo or the Orbit stuff that really makes the discs more overstable. I think it's more just their process and they're intentionally trying to make the disc more overstable, and they're just adding the Orbit or the Halo stuff afterwards, because since a lot of these are like limited batches and they're smaller batches, they're able to like be more consistent with it. That's just a guess. I have no idea about the process. It gives like fans of that mold or throwers of that mold like a new option of that in their bag to really just widen the spectrum that that disc covers. And let me tell you, like this Lucid Ice Orbit stuff feels really good. It's just the normal Lucid Ice stuff that feels very stiff, and like the Trespasses and most of the other stuff has like a decent dome on them, but that's like a tacky, grippy, Lucid type of plastic. It's stiffer and it's just more overstable. Like it's not a beefy, super beefy overstable like a Lucid X or Fusion X might be, but it's just like a consistently more overstable run. But it's like a good distance type trespass because it has that dome. It's still gonna go a ways and have that like touch more stability. But the Lucid Ice Bear was really interesting. Like I would still say this is more stable for a bear, but it still gave me a little bit of turn, especially when there was a little bit of a breeze. This would still turn for me, but it would still finish at the end. So it was very interesting. It feels really nice in the hand. Like I have the like first run Bear here, and this one definitely flies really nice, but this one's like a lot flatter, and because of that it feels a little smaller in the hand. This one feels like a big beefy disc in your hand. But what surprised me was the Gold Orbit Sapphire. This one was a lot more stable than I thought, especially in like a tailwind or like a right to left crosswind. This one like didn't really turn much at all. Granted, when I threw it into winds, it turned over, or if like there was not much wind and I threw it flat, it turned over. You definitely still need to throw it on hyzer when you have my speeds, which is closer to like 360 right now because I'm not throwing well recently. But these guys are really, really nice. And they make great complements if you already throw any of these discs. These are like must try discs in my opinion. Then you have like the other side of the spectrum. It's not just a more overstable one. Sometimes it's like you can't get them otherwise, like the Sake Bomb Slammers. This is a Fusion Ice Raptor Eye Sake Bomb Slammer, and the Slammers don't come in any premium plastic. Like if you're wanting a premium plastic slammer, you've got to get one of these like limited edition ones and the Raptor Eye or Orbit type plastic for it. Now I don't really mind that because especially with these really overstable stuff, you only need a few of them, and this isn't the only time that this has happened. Like for example, if you throw Lunas, the only way to get a premium Luna is to get one of the limited edition drops. So it's the same with the Sake Bomb Slammer. If you're wanting a premium Sake Bomb Slammer, you've got to get one of these limited edition drops. They had the Lucid Ice ones that they dropped, and now this is the Fusion Ice Raptor Eye Slammer. I keep wanting to say felon. It's not a felon. And these things are definitely beefy. They feel really nice. They're a little gummier than I would have thought Fusion Ice would be, but they still feel great. And honestly, this is probably one of the best looking discs I have ever seen in my life. These things are so, so nice. So I personally, I love the Orbit or Halo or Horizon, and I think they're the type of plastic, like if you throw any molds and they have like a Halo or an Orbit type plastic in them, I personally think that that's worth giving them a try. Now, is it going to change your mind about molds if you didn't like those molds in the first place? Maybe not. Maybe in the case of like the Sapphire, it might change your mind, since the Sapphire is a little more stable, and if it was just a little too flippy for you before, because those things bomb if you get a hold of them. So, but most of the discs I talked about in this video, we have at apollodiscgolf.com. And until August 14th, you can get free shipping on orders over $60, and you can get a free Apollo Mini for orders over $50. And if you're wanting to see a video on me trying to throw rollers and see if like it's really understable and lightweight disc, like the Gold Orbit Diamonds we just got in, or the new Prodigy F9, then that video is right here. That was a very interesting time. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.